The Progressive Liberal Party slamming the Ingram administration of its handling of small businesses. The PLP says the Free National Movement has failed to create an environment for small businesses to thrive. Elizabeth MP Ryan Pinder says the country's international financial cooperation ranking continues to fall. Pinder says this is a sign of a mismanaged economy.
In the last 4 years, under this FNM government, the Bahamas has fallen from an IFC ranking of 59 to an embarrassing 85. With respect to our Latin American and Caribbean neighbors, we now rank a deplorable 13th. Colombia, Tunisia, Rwanda, Puerto Rico, Slovenia, our competitor Panama, these are just a few of the 84 nations now ranked ahead of the Bahamas in ease of doing business.
Well, former president of the Bahamas Chamber of Commerce, Kalis Roll, who's also seeking a PLP nomination, said the United States created a model for small businesses to boost their economy, but claims the government is doing the opposite and in turn is crushing small and medium-sized businesses.
During this crisis, the U.S. decided that they were going to invest in businesses, invest in small businesses. They call it invest in Main Street. We did the exact opposite. We invested our money in increased taxes and into the public sector. And if you want to drive an economy, Ryan mentioned that the small and medium-sized sector drives an economy. It's the engine of the economy. And in fact, we decided that we were going to shut down the small and medium-sized sector by increasing taxes on them. Secondly, I think when we decided that we were going to do a lot of capital works project, that was another failure of investing. The U.S. model of investing, everything stays in the economy. When we invest in capital works projects, most of the money goes outside of the country.
Well, joining us live this evening is State Finance Minister Shivago Laing. Now, Minister Laing, first of all, thank you for being here this evening.
It's my pleasure, and good evening to your listeners.
Some tough words from two PLPs, one member of parliament and another a prospective candidate. Let's look at what they're saying. First of all, what is your response to Ryan Pinder's assertion that the FNM has failed to create an environment for small businesses to thrive?
I thought it was interesting that he was referring to the ease of doing business ranking. I would challenge anyone to find out what the Bahamas' ranking was when that report was first published, which was in 2004. Find out what the Bahamas' ranking was in 2005. Find out what it was in 2006. One of the interesting things you would find is you can't find a ranking for the Bahamas because the PLP administration never even bothered to see that the Bahamas was assessed for a ranking. The rankings of the Bahamas in that regard started in 2009 when the Free National Movement administration applied to have itself assessed so that we can have a ranking to be assessed on and to know where we stood in relation to things. Insofar as the decline in the rankings are concerned, they don't reflect any significant deterioration or any deterioration really in what we have done in terms of doing business. They reflect perhaps what others have done in relation to doing business. I also believe, though, that the ranking does not reflect what the state of play is in the Bahamas today as far as doing business. It doesn't reflect the fact that we now have a Business License Act that says it takes 7 days to get your business license, even if you don't hear back from the Business License Division because you're deemed to have been licensed if you don't hear back in that period of time. It doesn't reflect the fact that we no longer require people to get renewals of business licenses. You get a license for one time for a lifetime. You only pay your annual business license taxes. It doesn't reflect the fact that you get a license for the Bahamas that covers you everywhere in the Bahamas. You don't have to get a license for Abaco, a license for 8 Mile Rock, a license for New Providence. You get one license that covers you all over the Bahamas. And it doesn't reflect the e-government services that we have just implemented that allows businesses to pay any number of taxes online, which provides some ease for them doing business. I just had someone email me to say, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I've been able to pay my property taxes, and it just was so easy to do it from home. So I think that there's some information that's not been shared with the assessors that needs to be shared.
Let's talk about what it is that this administration has done or is doing to assist medium and small-sized businesses and businesses in general, but certainly medium and small-sized businesses in a time when the economy is still lagging.
I was shocked to hear the former president of the Chamber of Commerce speak, but again, not so shocked, because these days he's a politician now. He would not mention that in this crisis we exempted small businesses from paying business license fees, that we are the ones who have hundreds of businesses that are registered under the Item 8 provision of the Tariff Act that exempts them from paying custom duties on any number of things that they bring import into the country in order to do their business. That we were the ones that extended to any number of businesses the ability to have engaged employees that the government paid for during our 6-month job program, and now doing the job readiness program. It is absolutely untrue, expressly untrue, to suggest that most of the money that would be invested in this country in terms of capital works goes out of the country. In terms of the labor, in terms of the administrative costs that any contractor has to incur in doing business in this country, that a great portion of that, certainly maybe as much as 50%, stays here in the country because they're paid locally. But again, I suppose when you want to make politics because your business now is seeking to get elected in a seat, you have different points of view than when you might have been at a different place.
Speaking of capital works, let's talk about those businesses that were affected by the $120 million road improvement project. What is being done to assist them?
Well, you know, the reality is when you're doing capital development works that include infrastructure works on roads and utilities, you are going to have an impact in some areas for sure. The Darling Highway that was created, I think lots of people remember the convenience store, Maria's convenience store, that no longer exists, and that was a store that existed prior to that road being developed. The question could be asked, when the former administration was in office, what did they do to assist that business that went out? We are doing something that, once completed, will provide, we believe, for greater quality of life and a greater efficiency and effectiveness to do business in the country. In the interim, it does cause some inconveniences, some frustrations, some dislocations perhaps, but this is part and parcel of development. As to what might expressly be done, I would only say we'd have to stay tuned for that.
Now let's quickly talk about the job training program, where it's hoped to have or will have 3,000 people working and learning a new trade, a new career, in order to prepare them for when the economy does turn around. Give us a status update on that.
The program is going quite well. Hundreds of persons have been placed so far. Interestingly enough, Mr. Kayla's role talks about the United States and what it's doing. I have had American business people who've seen this job readiness and training initiative and say to us, why didn't you gentlemen send that to our country so that they could follow the same model? We are creating and hiring people, giving people an opportunity for increased training, etc. And the program has been already a significant help to persons who are participating, and will be an even greater help to the thousands who will be engaged at the end of the program.
And in about 30 seconds, I know the IMF had a meeting here in the Capitol today. Just talk briefly about what it was about and the focus of that meeting.
It's a regional economic outlook meeting where they are discussing with Caribbean countries what the prospects are for their economic outlook going forward, and the Bahamas is simply playing host to that meeting.
State Minister for Finance Laing joining us here on the Bahamas tonight.